All right. I was going to start to run that promo, but we're going to go ahead and do this anyways. We are live. This is Cancel the Cabal. I'm Steve Roberts. Welcome, everybody. My special guest is pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Stephen. Nice to be here.
Boy, first of all, tell us about your mission. Tell me about your mission.
My mission? Well, why'd you want me on? Tell me why you want to be on. I should ask you. What intrigued you? Because I have a lot of missions.
I want to know about the medical establishment.
Oh yeah, that's a big one, man. The MMA, MME, the modern medical establishment. You know, everybody likes to, the world I hang out with, which is kind of alternative practitioners, alternative health practitioners. Everybody wants to rip on doctors as individuals, and I don't like ripping on doctors as individuals, as easy targets as some of them make themselves. I like ripping on the model, the mainstream medical model, and it's the model that says that we can be hacked and we can be cut and we can be drugged back to being healthy again. And to me, that just makes, as a pharmacist, that makes absolutely zero sense. One of the things we study in pharmacy school is the poisonous nature of medicine. And from the get-go in pharmacy school, as a young pharmacy student, I was always amazed at this notion that if we were sick, we could take a poison and somehow get better. It just never made sense to me. Now you're a layperson, right, Steve? How does that make sense to a layperson? If you sit and think about it, and of course we don't always sit and think about it, but if we sit and think about it, how can it make sense that you could take a poison to get better? What would be your take on that?
Well, no, it actually doesn't, but if you hear somebody inside the mainstream explain it, they might say something like, oh, well, sometimes you do have to take a poison to combat something or help you with something.
Clearly, they say it all the time. They say that. They say, "Oh, it lowers your risk of heart attack by 3%," or we did a test and we found that 99% got a 22% improvement. Blah 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 blah. They never tell you they reversed anything. They tell you you're going to be on your diabetes medicine the rest of your life. They're going to tell you that your odds of having a heart attack and cancer are going to be increased for the rest of your life once you have a heart attack. Make it take a statin drug and it'll drop your odds by 1%, but you're still going to be, your odds of getting another heart attack are increased. There is not a single degenerative disease that prescription medicine has ever cured. Period. End of story. That's just a fact. It's not how drugs work, and this is something that pharmacists are privy to, and we see it on a day-to-day basis. Stephen, we have more doctors per capita than any other country in the history of mankind. We pay the most money per capita for our health care than any country in the world. Yet we are sicker than any country than any culture has ever been since the dawn of time. We're falling apart, and while life expectancy is increasing very, very slightly when you factor in infectious disease and our ability to keep people alive longer, our quality of life is dropping dramatically. We are indeed the first generation to witness a decline in longevity. We're somewhere mired in last place or second to last place or third to last place on almost every single health marker that's done on rating countries, the health status of countries. We got 1 out of 3 people who are obese. We got 1 out of 8 women getting breast cancer. We got 1 out of 2 people getting cancer eventually. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happening. As a healthcare professional, I see people disintegrating. Remember, you saw the Wizard of Oz probably when you were a kid, right?
Oh yes.
Okay, good. Remember the Wicked Witch Wicked Witch of the West at the end?
Yeah, she melted.
On her. She goes, I'm melting. I see people like that every day. I look at them and they're going, I'm melting. They're dissolving in front of my eyes. I'm watching humanity dissolve into a puddle of mush. You show me your fingers before, rheumatoid arthritis. Let me tell you something. What you're dealing with, as you probably know, rheumatoid arthritis is what's called an autoimmune disease, right?
Exactly.
Now, we got tens of millions, maybe 80 million Americans, ridiculous numbers of people who are dealing with autoimmunity, all right? And so what is autoimmune disease? Autoimmune disease is when the body's immune system attacks itself. So we've created a culture where our immune systems are so freaked out and so hypersensitive and so jumpy and so blinded by toxicity that they're now turning on us. Our own immune systems are turning on us. And it's just a little slice of the dramatic decline in our health over the last 200-300 years. Now, again, if you factor in infant mortality, it appears superficially, and you factor in the fact that we can keep people alive a little bit longer, even though their quality of life may decline, it appears statistically a case could be made that, oh, we're healthy, we're strong. But when you look at people, how many people do you know, Steve, are completely disease-free or illness-free at the age of 50? Anybody? Yeah, if you're lucky.
I know maybe two.
Maybe two, right?
Yeah.
You know, how many people at the age of 40 or at the age of 50 have the same waist size that they did when they're 20 or 30? We just consider it nobody, right? We just consider that. Yep. We consider it normal. We consider this decay process and degenerative process normal. And I'm here to tell you that it is not normal. There are indigenous cultures all over the world where people are 70 years old and they're hauling a log up a mountain. You know, I mean, you've seen the commercials. They used to have these yogurt commercials, but it's true. They call them blue zones. And the guy named Dan Buettner wrote a book all about it. The point is that we are dealing with a degenerative disease crisis that is perhaps not being caused by the modern medical model, but it is certainly being made worse by the modern medical model. The mainstream idea that you can get a colonoscopy and take prednisone if you have a bowel problem, or you can take insulin and eat all the crap you want if you have diabetes or glucophage or whatever, or if you have autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, you could take prednisone and just continue about your merry way and be fine. The fact is if your body is diseased or broken down, if it's something as mild as acne or as severe as heart disease or somewhere in between like rheumatoid arthritis, you have broken a fundamental rule or a fundamental law of the body. And the proof of it is that the body is a healing and regenerating system. It is designed to heal. Cells renew themselves on a moment-to-moment basis. The cells you have right now, Steve, are a different set of cells than you had when you started this conversation. Red blood cells have died, bone cells have died, skin cells have died, and they've been regenerated. And this is the nature of the body. And every time you cut yourself, you can witness this. You know, you cut yourself with a little paper cut and a miracle occurs. You don't have to talk to the cells and push the cells and make them do anything. All of a sudden, you look at your cut 2 days later, and the thing is covered, and it's got a little scab on it, and what you don't see is cells are secreting little tiny proteins, and they're closing things up. 2, 3, 4, 5 days later, not a trace is left. That cut has completely healed itself, and that same process that occurs on your finger when you have a cut is occurring on your bones when you have a break. Do you know when you break a bone, it actually repairs itself stronger at the point of the break than it was before the break? That same healing process that's taking place in your skin is taking place in your blood, it's taking place in your bone, it's taking place in your muscles, it's taking place in almost all the tissues of your body. Your liver completely regenerates itself. Lung tissue repairs itself. Digestive tissue repairs itself. Cardiac tissue repairs itself. Every system of the body repairs. So if we're dealing with a degenerative disease, something is clearly wrong. And what is wrong is we have mucked up the system with a steady stream of toxicity that every year gets worse and worse. Beginning about 200 years ago, it really became horrible when we started to figure out organic chemistry and how to manipulate chemicals, in combination with nutritional deficiencies that are epic, biblical in proportion. Almost everybody is deficient in at least a couple of nutrients. Most people are deficient in almost all nutrients. And when you have a combination, a perfect storm of these kinds of circumstances in our lives, toxicity in water, toxicity in the air, processed foods, nutritional deficiencies, soils that are polluted, prescription drugs in the water, prescription drugs that we're taking, you can't help but end up with cancer. And you don't need, you asked me before we went on the air, oh, well, you cure cancer, cure diseases. No, we're not talking about curing diseases. We're not talking about curing cancer. We're talking about not getting it in the first place because you cleaned your act up, you refused to participate, and this is very important, Steve, what I'm going to say right now. We refuse to participate in the corporate swill that passes for food. And I'm telling you, Stephen, it does no good to rail at the New World Order and to scream about gun control and Obama when you're lining up, when you're driving through Wendy's, eating that poison food, because let me tell you something, the New World Order could care less about what you have to say because they know that you're going to be dead in 20 years, and in 10 years before that, you're going to have colon cancer and not give a crap about the New World Order, literally. You know what I'm saying? So I remember when Fukushima happened. You remember the Fukushima reactor a couple years ago in Japan? I got calls in my pharmacy, maybe, I don't know, 10 calls a day for the first few days, people wanting potassium iodide. You remember that?
Yes.
Potassium iodide,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And so everybody wants potassium iodide. Oh my God, Fukushima, potassium iodide, big disaster, potassium iodide. But you know what I noticed? I noticed that the lines at Wendy's were no shorter. The drive-thru at McDonald's is just as packed as it ever was. Everybody wants their potassium iodide, but they're still eating their French fries and still eating their Wendy's hamburgers and still eating the poison food, and the New World Order is laughing at us. Laughing all the way to the bank.
To the bank,
as they extract our money for the drugs that we're taking and the food that we're buying and all the different ways we engage with the machine. So the message that I have, you asked what my mission is, it's to spread the word that we are not sick, we are starving. And we do not have to starve, but we have to understand some of the basics about biology, some of the basics about chemistry, some of the basics about nutrition, and we have to refuse at all costs to engage with this corporate machine that could care less whether we or our children live or die.
Yes. I am actually still a what is it? A distributor for the line that you.
Longevity?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The longevity line. Yeah, I'm a distributor.
Well, I hope you're sign up under me there, then, my man. I don't know who you signed up.
I'm not
Alex. Well, whoever you signed up under, I'm just a distributor as well. That's all I do. But I know Dr. Wallach, and I've known Dr. Wallach since the mid '90s. I started listening to his tapes in the early '90s, and I met him about '96 or '97. And Dr. Wallach and I, the reason we hit it off really well because we both agree. We're not sick, we're starving. We don't need to be fixed, we need to be fed. We need to be on a certain amount of basic nutrients the way a car needs gasoline. It's as simple as that. And the body's much more complicated than a car, so instead of just gasoline, we need 90 different types of gasoline. They're called Dr. Wallach calls them the Mighty 90. And they're vitamins, and they're minerals, and they are essential fatty acids, and there are amino acids. And then in addition to that, you need some phytonutrients. And between getting these, the Mighty 90 nutrients, the basic building blocks, the gasoline that runs your engine, and not putting the crap in your body, there is no way that you cannot notice a reversal, not curing, but a reversal, because it's in the body's nature to regenerate, a reversal of any degenerative disease that you're dealing with. And I remember when Doc started to get real popular, he told some people, he said, I can reverse diabetes, and he got all kinds of crap for that. You know, well, guess what? You can reverse diabetes, because diabetes, like all degenerative diseases, is a metabolic disease, which means it's a disease of chemistry, of dysfunctional chemistry. And when you're on a road to degenerative disease, the cool thing about a road is it goes two ways. And the cool thing about chemistry in the body is it goes two ways. It goes to break down and it goes to build up. We call it in biochemistry catabolism, which means break down, and anabolism, which means build up. And the combination of a catabolism, break down, and build up yield metabolism. And when somebody has a metabolic disease, what they have is a disease of build up and break down. You're breaking down basically more than you're building up. You know, Steve, do you ever have a business, or do you ever?
I did.
So in a business, you're always spending money and you're always making money. It doesn't really matter how much you're spending as long as you're making more than you're spending, right? It doesn't matter. That's what you're spending. The bottom line is what counts, right? Well, in the body, it's the same way. The body is constantly breaking down and it's constantly building up. And when you're young and you're vital and you're growing, or you're 5 years old or 10 years old or 15 years old, all the way up into your 20s, you are in the black. You're really in the black when you're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Then the body is growing like a weed. It's super in the black, and that's why we love watching little kids. Do you have any kids, Steve?
No, but I got nieces I watch.
Okay, you watch them, right? And you're like amazed. They got so much energy, and they're so curious, and they're bouncing off the walls, and they're just filled with life force. Yeah. That's because they're in the black. They're way in the black. They're super anabolic. And as we grow older, up until a certain point, we are steadily in the black. What happens is, around the age of 28, is for some people even earlier, but certainly for most of us by the age of 28, we begin to run a deficit. Like the country, right? The country's got a $16 trillion deficit or something crazy. I don't know, ridiculous deficit.
That's what they admit to, anyways.
That's what they admit to, right? I understand. So anyway, that happens to us. That happens to our biochemistry. We start to run on deficit, and we start to run on deficit energy. And just like the country can get by on a deficit, but it's just harder to get things done, the same thing happens with the body. 28, 29, 30, you're starting to show some deficit, but you can get by, but it's beginning to get harder to get things done. You follow me on this now?
As
you go into your 30s, you go into your 40s, you're pretty much, for most of us at this point, we're in the red, and for a lot of people, we're way in the red. Certainly by 50s or 60s, we are running negative in the red. What that shows up as is cancer, heart disease, autoimmune disease, arthritis, degenerative disease. Every single breakdown crisis you can name is the net result of this kind of imbalance in building, this negative situation where our breakdown is far exceeding our build-up. But the good news is, there's good news here, okay? All we got to do, if we have rheumatoid arthritis or we have degenerative disease, all we got to do is figure out how to reverse this equation, how to reverse this direction so we're not running deficit, but we're running surplus. How can we reverse this? And there's only two things we need to know. Number one, what the heck is getting into the system that is causing it to lose energy so that it's running on deficit, it's running in the red? And number two, get the darn raw materials in there so you can fuel the growth, so you can fuel the anabolism, the build-up process. And that's pretty much it, and it isn't that complicated.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem is lack of energy.
You want to be a case study, Steve? Do you want to experience how powerfully the body can regenerate in 48 hours?
Oh, sure.
48 hours.
Absolutely.
Even less. I'll give you a little extra, usually 24 hours, but 48 hours. I'll tell you what you do right away, okay? First of all, if you can fast, that'll change your life. You'll notice a dramatic difference because every time you eat, your immune system becomes activated, and you already have a hyperactive immune system. That's what rheumatoid is. So simply fasting will suppress the immune system. Take 2 days off, and in 48 hours, you're going to notice dramatic results. But if you don't want to fast, do you like to cook? Are you a cooking type of guy?
Yeah.
All right, go get yourself a chicken, organic chicken. You got a Whole Foods out there in Niles, Michigan, or nearby, or organic?
A couple of towns nearby, yeah.
All right, okay. Go get yourself an organic chicken, because what you're going to do is, it's very important that it's organic and hormone-free and antibiotic-free, no crap that they're feeding the bird. Drop the chicken in a pot of boiling water and make a soup out of it until the meat falls off the bones, and throw some apple cider vinegar in there. And that apple cider vinegar will dissolve the cartilage, and then at the end of maybe 12, 24 hours, just simmer it down to where it's a nice soup consistency. Throw some spices in there. And then at the very end, maybe the last hour or so, throw some vegetables. And for the next 2 days, all you eat is that bone soup, all right? And if you don't feel at least 10 or 15 or 20 or even 50% better, I will be shocked. It's not even possible. All you eat is that bone soup for 2 days. Okay? No bread, no pasta, no rice, no cereal, certainly no candy or fruit juice or any of that crap, because that messes up your immune system.
Yeah.
And watch what happens. Now, that's just one tiny little move that you can make, just so you can see, so you can notice the kind of changes you can make by these strategic little moves that you make in your life, lifestyle choices. There's dozens of them that you can do, literally dozens. But I want you to experience what one single move makes. Don't eat no inflammatory foods, no bread or pasta or any of that stuff. Just have the bone soup for 2 days, and then call me up and let me know how you do. And there's tons more that you can be doing, but that's just one little thing.
Sure. Is that like a detox then, or?
No, it's quieting down your immune system. See, your immune system is your defense system. It fights the enemy. And guess where 80% of your immune system, or more of your immune system, is located? What part of your body do you suppose?
The stomach.
Hello?
Yes, I've heard that, yeah.
It's not your eyes. It's not your fingertips or your toes. It's not your butt. It's not your hair. Yeah. It's your digestive tract. That's where your immune system is. So when you have an autoimmune disease, almost by definition, do you get this? Almost by definition, you have a digestive issue, period. And if your doctor hasn't told you that, then he is criminally negligent for taking money. Okay? If he hasn't told you that, 80% of your immune system, and you have an immune disease, is located in your digestive system, and he's taken money, he's committed fraud. Do you know what the word doctor means, by the way, aside from the Latin etymology? You know, colloquially, what does it mean when you doctor something? But if you go to the IRS and say,
you fix it up.
Yeah, right?
You fix
and you
it
hear,
up, yeah.
Mr. IRS, these are my taxes, they're doctored.
Yeah.
Right? Or you go to the court and you go, well, here's the evidence, Judge. It's doctored.
Doctored, right.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good thing, would it, Steve? Right? No. And yet you got people going around going, I'm a doctor. Oh, yeah? Well, you're a fraud, because that's what a doctor is. Doctoring is to commit a fraud, correct?
Yeah.
And that's what medicine is about. It's about doctoring.
And
it's
they're
about fraud. It's about jury rigging, and it would come as a surprise to a lot of folks to know that to be a doctor was not a great thing until about 100 years ago, when the American Medical Association did some serious lobbying and some serious public relations, and they hired some serious PR firms to rehabilitate the reputation of doctors. But historically, doctors were not held in high regard. In Rome, the slaves were the doctors. Yeah, in ancient Rome, that's who were the doctors. In the Middle Ages, it was doctoring to be not the Middle Ages, but in the 1800s and the 1700s, doctoring was considered to be a dirty, nasty job. Nobody wanted to be a doctor. There were always some educated doctors who did research, but the mainstream doctors who saw patients, that was not considered to be a very elegant profession. And even to this day, in many countries, doctors are just, they don't get paid a lot of money, and they're just considered to be an ordinary worker type people, except for the researchers. Now, if somebody does research, it's a little bit different, depending on the research they're doing. But I'm talking about your average participant, healthcare professional who participates in the mainstream medical model. And it's the model here that is at fault. Yes, there are doctors who are taking advantage, who are ignorant, beyond ignorant. Some of the dumbest human beings I've ever met are doctors. I'm not saying all of them are. And I don't even want this to be about individuals. I want this to be about us and the mainstream model. And this is a very important point, Steve. We blame. We do a lot of blaming. And in this truth movement, we do a lot of blaming also. We don't take responsibility for our participation in this system, our participation in the medical model. When push comes to shove, we may rip on doctors, but a lot of people will end up getting their gallbladder taken out or getting put on that statin drug just in case, because my doctor told me. So we have to take some responsibility ourselves and refuse to participate in the model, feed ourselves healthily, and feed ourselves less, far, far, far less. The human body is designed to be a lean, mean, fighting machine. Did you ever see those Kenyan runners that win the marathons?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's supposed to be us. We're supposed to be Kenyan runners. That's the way our bodies are designed to be built. Now, when was the last time you looked like a Kenyan runner, Stephen? I
probably when I was 7.
Years, or 5 years. But that's, how many people do you know could be dropped on the African savannah tomorrow and survive?
Yeah.
Not a lot of us. But that is how that's what our bodies thrive on. That's what our bodies want. Now, we can't go back to the African savannah, clearly, but certainly, there are no McDonald's hamburgers on the African savannah. There's no Wendy's, there's no Cool Whip.
No Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut, exactly. The soporific, sleepy time, entrancing, dumbifying, stupefying chemicals that are put in dough and processed food are mind-blowing. The excitotoxins and the sweeteners and the poison chemicals and the elements, the fluoride and the bromide and the halogens and just the crap that's put into our food is hideous beyond words. There are literally 100,000 chemicals today that didn't exist 100 years ago that our body now has to deal with, and the vast majority of them are in food. The flavor industry, there's a really cool book out, there's a bunch of cool books out now, but there's one called Taste, where they talk about the Monell Institute. The Monell Institute is this place in Philadelphia that's funded by drug companies, tobacco companies, and food processing companies, where these cadre of scientists, highly paid scientists, researchers, some of the brightest minds in the world, study how to manipulate our taste buds so they could sell more friggin' Pizza Hut. What chemicals what chemicals will hit the right buttons to keep you buying and eating their potato chips.
Right, and just like the cigarettes too.
The same. They study these things. They know more about our taste buds and our tongues and our brains than we do. Let me tell you something. The human brain and the human taste, human tongue finds sugar absolutely 100% irresistible. It's almost impossible to resist. So these food processors have a product that is impossible for you to say no to. How evil is that?
Right.
That's just messed up. That is, and they do it to kids especially. That's really messed up. And then they put you in this alpha state with the hypnotic commercials and with the strobe lights and the slow-moving camera angles, and all of a sudden you're in the alpha hypnotic trance. And then they show you the sugar, and they show you the sauce dripping down off the cake or whatever the heck it is. Of course you're going to go out and buy it. I mean, you can't if you don't know. If you do know, you're going to be pissed.
Yeah,
go out and buy it.
Yeah, the flicker rates and
the flicker rates, exactly.
And they get you to regurgitate whatever they say on the TV, and now the doctors, you don't even have to. You just watch a commercial and tell your doctor, yeah, that's what I need. This is what I've got, and that's
right.
They brand it. I need. Yeah.
They make it like a brand. Now you have these. What do you think they have the commercials for at night now, or all these drug commercials? Why do you think you have drug commercials now? Because they work. Because people say, "Oh, I have that."
Yep.
Because the people who write the commercials, they know they're psychologists.
Exactly.
They understand your brain. Do you ever hear the story of Edward Bernays? You know who Edward Bernays?
Absolutely, sure.
You know the story. These guys, to this day, people don't realize that the bacon and egg breakfast was Edward Bernays' invention.
Yep.
The story about the Beechwood Packing Company? They wanted to sell more bacon, or the Torches of Freedom, where they got women to smoke cigarettes. It's all created this whole new demographic group to purchase their cancer sticks.
Right.
The Torches of Freedom parade, or whatever the heck they called it.
Yeah, and they had a nice, sexy actress smoking a cigarette in front of a TV screen.
Oh, I remember that was Virginia Slims. You come a long way.
Yeah, come a long way, baby. Lucky Strikes. That was.
That was the one doctors preferred.
Lucky Strike. Exactly.
9 out of 10 doctors preferred.
9 out of 10 doctors lit up. Yeah.
Guess what? For your asthma, they used to recommend it for asthma. Yes. Lucky Strikes for your asthma. That's the medical profession.
And if it hadn't been for lawsuits, they would still be denying that it caused cancer.
All right, so that's what I do. Long story. Long story short.
No, not too long for me. Yeah, geez. Like I said, I'm a distributor for longevity, but I got discouraged and I stopped buying the stuff about 6 months ago.
Nobody taught you how to work with it.
No, they didn't.
I'll tell you how to work with it. Get on that Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and that's all you do. Don't even buy anything else. Don't do anything else. Just sip on the BTT all day, and that's all. It costs you $50. That's all. Just 1 month. Give it a couple months.
Okay.
If you don't feel better, I'll be blown away. But sip on it. You don't want to do it all at once, because if you do it all at once, sometimes people get diarrhea, especially if they're not absorbing, and most people aren't. So sip on it slowly. Put it in a water bottle, and you don't have to do. It says on the bottle 2 scoops. You don't need to do 2 scoops. Do it to where you like the taste of it. The more important is that you're sipping on it all day long.
Oh wow! I thought it was like 5 scoops per every.
No, nobody told you how to do it. You gotta. That's
yeah,
what
they did. Well,
how did you even hear about it?
Alex Jones show. You?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Dr. Wallach, one or the other.
You got to sip on it. You got to sip on the stuff. Put it in a water bottle and sip on it slowly. There's more you need, but that's a great start. Do the bone soup. If you got some BTT sitting around there, sip on that all day, and then you give it 48 hours, Steve. If you're not feeling better, you will be feeling better. There's no not be. You'll be feeling better.
Yeah.
There's much more to do.
Well, as I told you, I've been fighting this for 21 years. I got it when I was 28.
Yeah, I've been taught. Nobody taught you what to do. You've been fighting it, but nobody taught you what to do.
Yeah. I had 2 doctors out of about 11 or 12 over the years kind of halfway admit to me that it was probably caused by a vaccination that I had back in 1982.
Probably didn't help you, but you know what? Your body should pretty much be able to recover from all that stuff.
Yeah.
Vaccines are definitely a problem, big problem, and I wouldn't want anybody injecting any crap in my injecting anything in my blood at any moment, at any time. That's, I'd be, especially kids. But I don't like to, sometimes people say, well, I had a vaccine and I've been sick ever since. No, it doesn't quite work that way, although you can certainly do damage if they inject something right in your body. There could be some poison that gets stuck in there. But for the most part, it has much more to do with the foods you're eating and what you're not getting, the nutritional substance you're not getting. Look, Steve, and I don't mean to, I'm certainly not, I don't mean to be harsh or anything, but check this out, okay? The last 21 years, all right, have you eaten everything that you know you should be eating, or have you not eaten stuff that or have you been eating the wrong foods?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Have you taken vitamin C and vitamin E and N-acetylcysteine and selenium and sulfur and as supplements?
I was, but not the right types.
No,
they were
okay.
Over the
So
counter.
what I'm saying is, and I don't mean to be harsh, and I'm certainly not picking on you, but this is important because probably people listening are saying the same thing. Well, I had a vaccine, and this happened, and I've been sick ever since. Well, it's not fair for you to say that because look at all these other, in psychology, they call them confounding variables. A confounding variable is a variable in it that throws off the results of an experiment. You don't really know what's causing the result.
Okay.
So in an experiment, you have to have controls. You have to control for everything except the one variable that you're testing. Does that make sense?
Sure.
You control everything, just the one variable. So you know that if you have a cause, it's related to that variable. A confounding variable is a variable that sneaks in that you haven't controlled for. So unless you do a controlled experiment where you eliminate all the crappy food, where you start taking nutritional supplements and make sure that you're getting all the nutrients you need, it's not fair to form a causal relationship between a vaccine and some kind of disease state. It's bad science. You know what I'm saying? In order to prove a causal relationship, you have to eliminate all the potential variables, and you haven't done that, and nobody has really, because if they had, I guarantee you, they would start to notice changes in their health. And I'm telling you, Stephen, 48 hours, buddy, you will notice dramatic changes if you do what I said, vaccine or no. And anybody out there listening, if you've had a vaccination, now you're dealing with some kind of distress, health distress, do a controlled experiment where you eliminate all the potential other variables, make sure you have nutritional supplements, and then see if you don't improve. If you don't improve, then you can be more accurate if you make a causal if you make a conclusion about a cause. But if you don't control those variables, you're not going to be able to make an accurate conclusion on an experiment because you have a control for everything.
Okay.
Makes sense? Did I explain that well? It is kind of late here.
Sure. No. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I don't seem to have any questions from the audience or anything.
Yeah, well, invite a sick person, somebody who's not feeling as well as they should, or as well as they could.
Okay, I'll give out the Skype number. Skype is 347-609-0911. Anybody like to ask Pharmacist Ben a question? I'll give it a few seconds.
What do you usually talk about here on the program?
I concentrate. Well, the early shows I was concentrating on exposing media because I have a journalism degree, and they taught me how to deceive people, and now I'm teaching people how to recognize the deceptions. So,
where did you get your degree from?
University of Phoenix.
Very nice. I have a journalism degree too.
Do you? Okay. I decided to start putting it to good use, and that's when
you did. Yeah, you did.
That's when as I said, I stopped getting the longevity products, and I started saving up to get some equipment and started the show. So I need to get back on the longevity. That's for sure. I love it. I love the taste of that stuff, but I was putting in like 5 scoops and drinking it, and it was giving me a good boost, but I didn't want to do it.
Did you get the runs?
No, I never did get the runs. That was I guess that was a plus. But it tasted good. It gave me a big boost when I would drink it. Like,
that's what I'm telling you. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I was probably putting too many scoops in there, I think.
5 scoops is a bunch. How much do you weigh? Can you say it on the air?
280.
280. So yeah, 5 scoops actually might not be bad. That's a good amount. But you want to spread it throughout the day. You were doing it all at once?
Yeah.
That's too much.
Actually, 4 years ago, I was 100 pounds less than what I am right now.
Dude, that's a bad sign.
I know. I spent a lot of hours in front of the computer.
Bone soup and BTT diet.
I kind of half blame Alex Jones and Barack Obama for making me gain this 100 pounds.
Wait, both of them?
Well, Barack Obama helped wake me up. Alex Jones with his Obama deception. That's what woke me up to the New World Order, and I've been studying and researching ever since, and spend a lot of hours in front of the computer and eat crap, and I need to get on a better diet. That's for sure. Because 4 years ago, I started college in April of 2009, and that's when I caught Alex Jones and the Obama deception. And
you saw Alex Jones first time in 2009?
Yes. Yep.
On the that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. When he came out with that movie, and
which movie?
Obama deception.
The Endgame?
Yeah.
Oh, the Obama deception.
Obama deception. Yeah, because I was 5'11", 182 pounds, and I felt
you gained 100 pounds. I'll bet you.
Yeah.
Are you on prednisone or anything?
I was, but I'm not anymore.
Prednisone will do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. But a lot of hours in front of a computer will do it too, and eating crud. That'll do
Crud,
it too.
Yeah, that's basically it. What do you like to eat?
Well,
what's your favorite crappy food?
Mexican.
Like, don't tell me Taco Hell now.
No. I go to
you go to a real Mexican restaurant?
Authentic Mexican restaurants, yeah.
That's good. They got them out there in Niles, Michigan, and
Oh yeah. There's a big Mexican community out here.
In Niles, Michigan. Where's Niles anyway?
It's in the southwest corner.
Southwest corner.
Southwest.
Oh, okay.
It's only about 2 hours from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I can make it to downtown Chicago in about 2 hours.
You even sound a little Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago.
I got a little south side bad boy, do I?
Yeah, that's a little bit. Like the Bears. Can you say the Bears?
The Bears. Hey, forget about it, huh?
That's New York? That's right.
Yeah. Well, they do that on the south side too, though.
Oh, they do.
Forget about it.
So, what else? What are you going to talk about?
I was looking to get a question from somebody from the audience, or to get a call in, but
no worries. They can always call let Tom listen to the Bright Side.
Yeah.
Listen to the Bright Side. You know, I'm on the Genesis Communication Network. It's called the Bright Side, and you can just Google brightsideben.com.
When can we catch that?
Well, there's archives. There's like 2 years. I do it every day, and there's 2 years of archives, and it's packed with information.
Is that a blog talk?
It's GCN. It's Alex.
GCN. Oh, okay.
It's on GCN. And, it's on GCN. It's on every day, and it's loaded with information. I mean, that's my mission, is to just pack it with information. In fact, I remember I have this one guy, he's like my radio mentor, and he told me, he said, don't give him too much detail, don't make it too much information, but I don't care. I want to give a lot of information.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it. So there's 2 years worth of archives up there if you want to check it out at brightsideben.com.
Yeah. But tell me more about the medical establishment. Are they?
It's awful. It's hideous. If you have a gallbladder, Steve, keep it.
Yeah.
If you have any organs and the doctor tells you need to have it taken out, you keep it. Unless there's cancer in there, you keep it. And you figure out why it's messed up. That's the most important. That's the most tragic thing I see. And I see patients all the time in my classes and in my pharmacy, and I've been seeing patients now for 30 plus years. And the saddest thing I see is when people have had organs removed. Because, excuse me, I said earlier how degenerative disease is a two-way street. And if you're degenerating, you can regenerate. Well, if you had an organ removed, they ain't going back. It ain't coming back.
No.
You know, once the gallbladder's out, it's out. And for doctors to do that is just unconscionable. Or to hack your colon. You know, you have a digestive problem because you've been eating the wrong food, so they'll carve your colon up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
My
mother in 1988 actually had a colonoscopy. She had colon cancer, so I have to get the scopes every couple of years to make sure.
Well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You should just watch what you eat, bro. That's what I'd be doing.
I would absolutely love to go vegetarian.
It's probably not a bad idea. I don't eat a lot of meat. In fact, I don't eat meat, but I do eat fish.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's no difference between red meat and white meat. Sometimes people say, well, I don't eat any red meat. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You eat chicken. Chickens are nasty birds.
It's chemicals.
It's crap. unless it's organic and free range and you slaughtered it yourself pretty much.
Uh-huh.
We are omnivorous. Human beings are opportunistic eaters, and we grew up eating a certain amount of meat, but we stalked our meat. You don't stalk a Big Mac, and you don't stalk a bucket of chicken. So that's the problem.
Right.
We sit and we eat. We've created this caloric situation where, civilization is really behind all this because we want security. Human beings decided, we made a bargain, a Faustian bargain for security. And in the name of security, we got tyranny. And it's happening in government, and it's happening with our food. In the name of knowing where our food, or knowing we'll always have food, we sacrifice quality of food. In the name of making sure there were no famines and there's going to be plenty of calories, we sacrifice going out and hunting for our food. And so I'm not advocating going back to the Stone Age or going back to the Pleistocene period. I am advocating paying more attention to eating the way our bodies were designed to eat. In the last 200 years, we have diverged so far from the way we grew up eating for literally hundreds of thousands, even millions of years, that we can't help but suffer from these biochemical, metabolic, degenerative breakdowns. It cannot help but happen. And by the way, if you want to pick one single strategy to improve your regenerative capacity and to increase your longevity, it would be to ingest less calories. Calorie restriction is the prime example of a tried and true strategy, a well-tested strategy, scientifically proven to increase longevity and to accelerate healing and to reduce your risk of horrible diseases like cancer and heart disease, especially cancer. In fact, if you do have cancer, God forbid, one of the most important things you could do is eat less calories. Make sure you're getting your nutrition. You got to be nourished, but eating less calories, because calories fuel cancer like they fuel everything.
Right. Well, I guess fortunately, the rheumatoid is the only thing that I have.
That you know of, big fella.
Well, yeah, my sugar levels are good.
I guarantee you, that's not how the body works. That's a very interesting point you raised, because we feel sometimes like, well, this is my problem, I have this problem, that problem. Let me tell you something. The body doesn't break down in one point. It breaks down globally. You may notice it on one point. It may be more dramatic in one point, but it doesn't just break down at one point. It breaks down systemically. So if you have rheumatoid, guaranteed, Stephen, guaranteed, I'm not psychic at all, you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, especially when you throw in the fact that you got the weight problems. Oh, here's another one. Guaranteed you've got high blood pressure or you've got some kind of cardiac issues as well. Oh, one more thing. Guaranteed, with all due respect, you either have constipation or diarrhea, one or the other. All right, and I'm guessing it's more like probably constipation than it would be diarrhea.
No, I get more
diarrhea than constipation.
Diarrhea, yeah.
Okay. One or the other. And I'm not psychic. Not psychic. I'm just telling you, this is how the body breaks down.
Yeah, I exercise just enough to keep my blood pressure about.
It's not exercise. Exercise is very overrated, by the way. Very overrated. Yeah, you need exercise in the sense that you want to kind of stress your body a little bit. But this idea of going to the gym every day and working out for an hour every day and doing PX90 so you can be all ripped and cut up, that's not what it's about. What it's about is increasing the stress load on your body to turn your body's growth and repair systems on. That's what really fitness is about. We have this idea that creating a shape of something, like where you have your veins sticking out or you have this muscular shape, that's health. No, that's not what health is. It may look good if you're maybe sexy, if that's what you like to see, but it isn't what a good health is about. Good health is about putting enough stress on your body so the regenerative system kicks in, so the healing process kicks in. That's what good health is.
Yeah, I've actually heard that the bigger bodybuilders that weigh 280 and 300 pounds, they're just as bad at risk at heart attacks and heart disease as somebody that
is true.
is carrying 150 pounds of fat.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm telling you. It's not that we have this idea that bodybuilders are healthy somehow. Bodybuilding is actually more of an art form than it is fitness. The bodybuilders, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger type bodybuilders.
Right.
That's not fitness really. That's an art form. They sculpt their body like an artist sculpts clay.
Yeah, and many of them die at the age of 55 from a massive heart attack too.
They may not be taking care of themselves. Just because you lift weights doesn't mean you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, they got guys in prison and they're lifting weights and they're ripped and they're strong and they're powerful, but they ain't healthy.
Right. Do you think enzymes and raw food diet is important?
Is that a letter? Is that a note you got?
Yeah, it's a question from the.
Heck yes, it's important. It's crazy important. Crazy important. Digestive enzymes are probably, I don't want to say the most, but they're right up there with the most inexpensive, multifunctional, powerful nutritional supplements you could ever take. And live foods. Did he ask about live foods? What did that guy say? Live?
Raw food. Raw food diet. Yeah.
Raw foods. You know, you do need, probably you want to cook certain foods a little bit to release the nutrients, and vegetables have have nutrients that are tied into the fibers, and sometimes they're hard to access. But you certainly want a good chunk of your diet to be raw. I would say all of it, 80%, 85%, as much as possible. But you want about 10 or 15% probably steamed. You don't want to overcook, that's for sure.
Right. Oh, wait a second. He said, they said, not raw meat. Raw food is live food. Okay.
Raw food, live food. Same idea.
Yeah.
That's what raw food is. It's alive.
Yeah. The two people I happened to mention earlier about they're over the age of 50 and they're disease-free. They are actually Seventh-day Adventists, so they're vegetarians.
You know, the vegetables aren't perfect either, by the way. You can have rheumatoid arthritis symptoms from vegetables, but they're certainly powerful medicinal substances, and they're gram for gram, they're the most powerful foods on the planet. You know, especially grasses. Grasses are amazingly healthy, and algae too. Grasses, algae, sprouts, and seaweeds are probably the most powerful vegetation on the planet. And then eggs and whey are, if you throw those in, those are the most powerful foods on the planet. What you really want to watch out for, which is kind of interesting, is fruit. And fruit is not a health food, period. There are some good things in fruit, especially berries. Absolutely, there's some wonderful things in fruit, but as an overall food, fruit is not necessarily a health food, especially the big sweet apples and melons. Those are really problematic.
Okay, sorry about that. No, there was a watcher from Hawaii says he's in total agreement with just about everything that you say. Do you know about the value of health, to health of virgin coconut oil?
It's awesome. Awesome stuff, virgin. Is that the same guy?
No, somebody different.
Awesome stuff. Let me tell you about coconut oil. Coconut oil contains something called medium chain triglycerides, or MCTs. And MCTs are unbelievably potent when it comes to absorption into the body and usage. Fats are typically hard for the body to process, and they got to go through the lymphatic system, and they got to be processed differently than other foods. MCTs from coconut oil go right to work. They don't require any special kind of absorption the way other fats do, and they're especially effective for the thyroid. They've got antifungal properties, antibacterial properties, and for the brain. Tremendously valuable food for diabetics. If you're on this low-calorie diet that I was talking about, fasting, MCTs are wonderfully satisfying and energy-providing. Coconut oil MCTs. Coconut oil also contains this lauric acid, which is antibacterial. Fabulous food, absolutely fabulous food. And it's interesting because the mainstream medical model has demonized these saturated fats for the last 40 or 50 years, although now it's changing a little bit. But when I was growing up, they were stay away from saturated fats. Well, coconut oil is a saturated fat, and it's unbelievably important, as is butter, by the way, which is another saturated fat that they used to tell you to stay away from. Butter and coconut oil are two tremendously valuable foods.
Oh, butter? Foods. Okay. Yeah,
butter, and use lots of butter and mix it with salt. And mix it with vegetables. Butter, salt, and vegetables. It's so delicious. It's like a dessert. It's so tasty, especially if you roast the vegetables. When you cook vegetables just slightly, you release their sugars. So roasting Brussels sprouts, pan roasting Brussels sprouts with coconut oil and butter and salt. Oh my God, is that delicious?
That sounds good.
Doesn't it sound good?
Yeah.
Oh, it's ever good. And throw spices on there. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We've been hoodwinked to think we need candies and sweets and cakes. Brussels sprouts and onions. Oh my God! And then you mix it with lots of oil and lots of salt. Here's another one for you. For people who can't kick salt, they have to have salty foods. Get yourself some Celtic sea salt, and then put a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt in water and sip on that water. The first couple of sips of that Celtic sea salt water will taste so delicious to you. It'll be like the tastiest drink you ever had, and then gradually it'll be less and less delicious, and when you no longer want any of that Celtic sea salt, you'll know you had enough salt. That's what listening to the body is about. Our bodies are always talking to us.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Always telling us what to do. We don't listen. We don't listen.
That.
And heroin, by the way.
Yeah. Somebody else wants to know about the importance of magnesium.
Crazy important, and it's the number one or number two, one or two, depending on who you ask, mineral deficiency in the world or in this country. Magnesium and zinc are the two top mineral deficiencies. Magnesium is unreal important, and it's found wherever you see green. Magnesium is green, and wherever you see green leafy vegetables, leaves, even green paint and green ink, that green is from an element of magnesium. Chlorophyll is green. So magnesium is wonderful for controlling blood sugar, for helping you fall asleep, for migraine headaches. Women will lose magnesium in the blood. Magnesium is a blood mineral, and it comes out in the blood when women have their periods. And so right when women are bleeding, they'll suffer from some of the signs of magnesium deficiency, which include cramping and migraine headaches, sugar issues, cravings for sugar, problems sleeping, jitteriness. All of these can be secondary to magnesium deficiencies. And if you're dealing with PMS symptoms, it might be smart to make sure that you're getting on 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of magnesium a day. And by the way, magnesium is an awesome laxative for people who are constipated. Magnesium, you can take magnesium powder, put it in water and drink it, or you can use magnesium capsules, or you can actually go to the drugstore and get citrate of magnesia or magnesium phosphate. It comes in little bottles, and wonderful laxative. Magnesium baths, magnesium salts. Magnesium is super important mineral. And the more calcium you need, the more magnesium you need. And if you're using, there's an important connection between magnesium and vitamin D and magnesium, vitamin D, and calcium. And there's an important connection between these three. So if you're using vitamin D and you're using calcium, make sure you're taking it with magnesium.
Okay. This same watcher says something about chelated magnesium.
Chelated minerals. Chelated magnesium.
Chelated, yeah.
Chelation is a chemical process where a mineral, which is ordinarily not absorbable, will be kind of surrounded by something that is absorbable, typically a protein of some kind, an amino acid of some kind, actually. And you'll swallow this complex, this amino acid that is surrounding. Chelate means to claw, and a chelation is like a claw that kind of covers the mineral, and you take the whole complex, and then the body kind of disguises the mineral, so the body will take in the mineral more readily. So chelation is a process that increases the absorption of minerals, and it's definitely a plus. Colloidal minerals are probably the best absorbed, or food minerals are the best absorbed, but chelated minerals are certainly better absorbed than non-chelated minerals.
Okay, I will tell you. Okay, this is something I used to do years ago, and I think I probably should go back to doing it again. I would take water. I would take cherry extract, maybe a teaspoon of that, and some apple cider vinegar, a couple teaspoons of that, and mix it in the water, or some other kind of drink.
Meals? After meals?
Before a meal, after meal, 2 or 3 times a day.
Apple cider vinegar is awesome stuff. Awesome. Organic apple cider vinegar at the end of meals. Acid tells your stomach, or tells your brain actually, that you've eaten enough. Acid signals that there's food in the stomach and you don't need to eat anymore. If you are achlorhydric or hypochlorhydric, which means you're not making enough stomach acid, that signaling won't occur. Not only will you keep eating, but even worse, acid turns on the rest of the digestive system. The pancreas, the gallbladder, the liver, all the things that happen downstream from the stomach are keyed into the secretion of acid at the stomach level. If you're not making acid, things aren't going to move through the digestive tract as quickly. So by using apple cider vinegar after meals, you tell the brain that there's food in the stomach, and you help stimulate the digestive process that's occurring south of the stomach. So ending your meals with apple cider vinegar is a wonderful strategy for helping you digest your food and for keeping you from eating a lot of food. And even using apple cider vinegar in the middle of the day can have an appetite suppressant effect. Plus, there's great minerals in apple cider vinegar. Make sure it's organic, and I like the Bragg's. That's my favorite, organic apple cider vinegar. If you don't like the taste, mix it with a little oil.
I have 2 questions more. Are you familiar with the teachings of Anastasia as taught in the ringing cedar.
I've seen the books, and I've never read them, but I'm kind of a bibliophile, and I like reading a lot, and I spend a lot of time at the bookstore, so I run into the Anastasia books. I'm pretty sure they're the black books, and there's a whole series of them, but I have not read them, so I can't speak to them. I don't know if they talk about food or not. I thought they were spiritual books.
Yeah, let's see, grown food designed for your body. That's what it is.
I have not read them. Maybe I should read them. I know there was a bunch of them, and I tried to read them, but they didn't quite call to me, I have to say. But I do know what you're talking about.
Okay, another watcher would like to know. She said she has low blood sugar, and what's the best way to control it?
A couple things. Low blood sugar is pre-diabetes. That means your insulin is super, super sensitive, and every time you eat, insulin comes along and yanks that sugar out of your blood. So you got to reset your insulin sensitivity. What you're experiencing is too much insulin secondary to insulin resistance. Your body's not listening to insulin any longer, so you're cranking out more insulin. And the more insulin you crank out, the faster your sugar comes out of your blood. So you want to reset your insulin sensitivity. How do you do that? You fast, number one. And number two, you reduce your intake of and ideally cut your intake of anything that makes your blood sugar spike and makes your insulin spike. Bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, cereal, processed foods, fruit juice, fruits. Go on a ketogenic diet is what I would do. Eating more protein, eating more coconut oil, essential fatty acids. Make sure you get nutrients that help your body process sugar. And then fast for a couple of days. Even just fasting for 2 days can help reset your insulin sensitivity. But rest assured, if you don't do anything about hypoglycemia, you are on the road to diabetes, which is one of the leading causes of death in this country, and something that affects many tens of millions of Americans, including prediabetes and diabetes. Nearly 100 million Americans are affected by blood sugar problems. That's 1 out of 3. That's ridiculous.
Well, that same viewer suggests you highly suggest you read them books.
The Anastasia.
Yeah, the Anastasia books.
All right, I will. I've seen them, and other people have told me about them periodically. But I didn't know they talked about food, and I will. When I go to my next visit to the Tattered Cover in Denver, I will be sure to check out the Anastasia books.
Yeah, I think this listener, I've talked to him on Skype once. I think he's into the organic movement out there in Hawaii. That's where he's at right now, and I think he's big into the being out on your own, getting away from the
get off the grid.
Get off the grid. Get away from the establishment. I don't know his full story yet, but I got a suspicion that's what he's into.
Well, you know what? If I was going to get off the grid, I don't think I could pick a better place in Hawaii to do it.
He just said amen, so I think I had him pegged. Oh, yeah, he said absolutely. Okay.
You're getting all the messages. I don't get any messages here.
Well, you have to be on the feed.
Oh, I gotta be on the feed. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed it. I gotta move, buddy. It's 11 o'clock.
No,
I am pooped.
That's quite okay. I can see you're tired. Yeah.
I am tired. I'm fading. I gotta get up early. I got a show to do tomorrow morning.
I hear you. Well, it was great having you on, Ben.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and thank you to all your listeners. And tune into The Bright Side. My website's brightsideben.com, and then just Google Pharmacist Ben and The Bright Side, and you'll get all kinds of good stuff.
All right.
Okay, good to talk to you. We'll talk again, Stephen.
Good night, Ben.
Have a good evening.
Bye.